Okay, shall we start? Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
so hello everyone and welcome to our open live discussion with the young academics and with the AEKOM team. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all, and I thank you for taking time out, especially in these very critical moments, to be here today. I believe we are being challenged nowadays in so many different ways. However, and despite all these difficulties, we are trying our best to show up virtually and to try to share our best and share our experience and share our knowledge and expertise. So we are in the 21st century, a century that encompasses the information age where everything is about data. Our era is often said to be a time of rapid technological change, and sources of knowledge are becoming increasingly digital. More importantly, in the 2020 pandemic, and most lately, even in the post-pandemic times, whenever hopefully we reach it soon, sources of knowledge are becoming even more digitalized, from articles, books, videos, presentations, etc. Hence, the management of digital knowledge has become a fundamental part of the sharing knowledge process, a necessity nowadays. The AEKOM project, AESOP Knowledge Management and Sharing Platform, just hit the nail on the head. AEKOM team is a group of people united around the idea that sharing knowledge in the planning field is extremely crucial. Since planning traditions, cultures, and systems differ from a place or another, and this diversity counts, and even more we actually put value on it, there are many aspects of planning, especially in the globalized economic, social, and environmental conditions that can be better explained and dealt with if colleagues worldwide share their knowledge and build on it. The AEKOM project started a few years ago. However, it is very safe to say that it has become even more strategic nowadays. So whether you are a researcher, you're a planning student, a planner, a PhD, or a postdoctoral researcher, this session today is for you. You will hear today from our speakers how, with AEKOM, our network will be reinforced with a wealth of knowledge, how with AEKOM, you can maximize publication reach, you can transfer knowledge for current and for future AESOP generations, or even for other users, benefiting from a wide range of services free of charge. And most importantly, you will hear from our speakers how with AEKOM, open access digital knowledge by employing informational technology will invite, motivate, and even more enable members of the AESOP community to manage and to share open access and digital knowledge and ultimately build AESOP community and to contribute to what we all strongly need today, I believe, a virtual and a long-term accessible communities. So this is, folks, what we're going to discuss today. I'm very happy to see all these faces and to be able to implement this event eventually. So before handing over to our speakers, I will start by introducing myself and maybe to agree a bit on some housekeeping matters. My name is Rosanna Darwish. I'm an architect, urban planner, and holding a PhD from the University Paris-Sorbonne and the Lebanese University. And I'm currently serving as the AEKOM project manager, working with a wonderful team, with the AEKOM team on such a great and promising project. So the housekeeping, so before we start, I would kindly ask participants if that was needed to please mute yourself during the presentations. The young academics will be asking questions to the AEKOM team. After the AEKOM team answers the questions, we will be running a Q&A session at the end of the conversation. But please feel free to drop your question in the chat. Just pop them there whenever something crosses your mind, and we will make sure to cover it during the Q&A. And at any rate, of course, if you happen to miss anything, there's no worries. We will be sending around the event recording, of course, when it's available after the event. I will try not to be very picky in terms of time. To be honest, I'm very looking forward to cover all the 7 questions in the first hour, and to leave any probing discussion until the end to make sure we cover this completely. And before turning it over to Aledio, my colleague, I'll just maybe ask the AEKOM team if you'd like to introduce yourself, so we can get to know you a bit more. Maybe we can start with Camilla. Thank you so much. You're muted.
Just a very short introduction. I am a professor of interactive planning and urban policy. Beside that, I'm principal investigator of critical planning and design laboratory who is engaged with knowledge, planning and urban policy for diverse, complex and self-organizing cities. So this is my point of view. This is my entry and perspective on this project, and you will discover something more in my replies to your questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Camilla. Tiana?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Rosanna. I am Tiana Dabovic. I am Associate Professor from the Belgrade University Faculty of Geography, Department of Spatial Planning. And I am very much involved in open access science and its principles, and always interested in planning theory, which is one of the course that I'm running at the department. So it's also in the theoretical, but also in a very practical ways. I am very much interested in sharing knowledge among planners.
Thank you so much, Camilla. Tiana, Alex or Paulo?
Maybe I forgot to mention my affiliation. Listening to Tiana, I thought about it. I'm just adding. I'm from University of Florence, Italy. So just to say that.
Thank you so much, Paulo or Alex. Jan. Alex would like to go first.
Okay, we'll take it alphabetically. Okay, I am Alex Defner. I'm Professor of Urban and Leisure Planning at the Department of Planning and Regional Development, the University of Thessaly in Volos, Greece. I'm also the director of the laboratory, as we call it, research unit, it means actually, of tourism planning, research and policy. Apart from leisure and tourism, my, let's say, particular interests are place and city marketing and branding, urban regeneration, and planning theory.
Thank you so much, Alex. Paulo?
Yeah, I'm Paulo Silva from the University of Aveiro in Portugal. I've been teaching urban and regional planning and the most diverse topics around urban regeneration and urban design. I'm coordinating the strategic design lab from the research unit of design, media and culture at the same university. And my main focus and interest is the relation between planning institutions and citizens. That's my main interest and also my involvement in this project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paulo. Jan?
Well, good evening. I'm Jan Schreus. I'm trained as an architect and an urbanist and a spatial planner. Based at University of Leuven, where I am at the moment emeritus. That means I have a long career behind me, and I hope another kind of long career before me. Research and practice is still part of my work. Teaching, I'm not teaching anymore. My field of interest is, well, at least if I would tell something about the focus, is spatial quality on the one hand and participation on the other hand. And trying to combine both has always been my passion. And in Flanders in practice, I'm very much involved in urban policy at local and regional level. That's it.
Thank you so much, Jan. Milica?
I'm Milica Ševkušić, and I work as a librarian at the Institute of Technical Sciences of the Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts in Belgrade. So I'm very close to Tiana, our institutions just across the street. So I'm in a capacity of a technical advisor in this project, which is a bit strange for me as I'm not a technical person. I'm usually not doing technical stuff. I'm involved in quite many projects on open science, both in my country and internationally. And I'm interested in actually in the best ways of making the best use of the available infrastructures towards improving scholarly communication. This is what I'm actually doing, and I'm also very much interested in open access publishing. I've supported a number of open access publishing initiatives in my countries. So everything related to sharing knowledge is my field of interest.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you so much, everyone. I believe my colleagues at AEKOM were a bit modest also in introducing yourself. I just wanted to remind that Camilla is the AEKOM communication officer of the project, and Jan is the conceptual advisor of AEKOM, adding to what Melissa also said, she's the technical advisor. Of course, Tiana is a co-rep member. She's a national representative of Serbia and AESOP. Paulo Silva also serves as the AESOP representative in GPN, and Alex is the AESOP conference officer. Thank you so much, colleagues. I'm just now, without further ado, hand it over to Lerio. We have Lerio, Pinar, Lizzie online as the coordination team. We're still missing, unfortunately, Dexter, that couldn't manage to be with us today. Please, Lerio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rosanna, and it's a great pleasure to be part of this event. Having been part of the AESOP Young Academics Coordination Team, I've known a little bit about the project because we have discussed, but now this is a great opportunity to share with the whole young academics community. So my first question would be, what kind of information or research will be available in the platform?
Thank you so much, Ledio. So how it's going to go for the other participants, just to have a gist of the discussion. So the young academics will, the members will be asking the questions, and some of the members of the AEKOM team will be answering these questions. So I'll just give the floor to Paulo and Tiana, whomever wants to go first, to please answer Ledio questions. Thank you.
Tiana? Oh, okay. Okay, so well, there's the interest of this platform is exactly to diversify and not follow the classic arrangements of this kind of institutional platforms in terms of contents. We are a community with already a relevant history, and a very relevant history for the European planning community. So we think and we believe as AEKOM team that we have a very good diversity of materials, from the most classic academic type ones to the ones that have to do with special moments in events that we had, that encounters more private, more public between the people that have been made part of this huge community for these decades. I would maybe subdivide it in three parts. We will have like what we could call this kind of typical AESOP products that are the result of our activities, like all the bodies that compose the associations, such as the booklets, such as the materials edited by thematic groups, etc. Also, materials from the AESOP community or from the AESOP members. I should remember here that members, when we talk about in formal terms, is not exactly what we mean when we talk about members. Members are mainly schools in this institution, although in this case we believe that also we as individual academics we will have materials that we would like to share with our colleagues and with our peers in this association. And thirdly, also to connect AESOP and bring to this platform the connection of AESOP with other institutions out of AESOP. So links from materials from other institutions can also be available in these in this platform. So I'll leave the floor now to Tiana to continue.
Thank you, Paolo. I would just like to focus a bit on these AESOP publications, which I think that would be also interesting for young academics to know. That one of the focus of AEKOM is to have the publications visible in the more, in a better way in the scholarly digital world. What we are trying to do is that all these publications that the young academics produced, as Paula mentioned, the booklet series, Planext, the different kind of materials that comes from the conferences, like book of abstracts or book of papers. All these materials will be safely deposited on the institutional repository on the platform, but it will be also given the information about those publications. This is something that will be able, that will make them more accessible and more visible, and they will be more recognizable. This is our goal. On the other side, institutional repository and platform itself could mean that some of the important institutional documentation could be deposited on as a kind of an archive platform, where important documentation, minutes from the meetings, so some legal and financial documents could be deposited as well and safeguarded for the future. In terms of more informal documents, we are also looking into the possibilities of not only putting the videos, which we already have, you're already familiar with lecture series. So all these videos from lecture series will be stored on the platform, but also we are thinking into the possibility, because it is becoming more and more inviting for people to put their preprints or some kind of working papers, which could be reviewed by some senior academics, or it could be peer reviewed, but it will be a kind of interaction between the author and the colleagues who can contribute to the quality of the paper in the future. So that will be the kind of a research and publication mostly that the platform would be able to give access to.
Okay, thank you for your answers. And my second question is, how will we, for example, as users or young academics, be able to interact within the platform? Will we need a login account? Will all be open access?
Yeah, I believe here maybe we can give the floor to Milica for some more technical insights on that.
There are multiple ways to access the content. On the website, you usually access you have a web interface and you read what's on the website. So there may be some parts of the website with limited access to members, some kind of intranet. And as a member of the community, you will have access to those parts also. So there might be a publicly available part and a restricted access part. As for the repository, in principle, the metadata in the repository, those are the descriptions, what Tiana said. So you have the publications, the full text of publications, and you have the descriptions. The descriptions are usually available publicly to anyone. As for the full text, we usually try to make full text available whenever it is possible. Sometimes this is not possible because of copyrights. For example, if you want to upload a book published with a commercial publisher, you may not be able to share it publicly, but it's good to preserve it in the repository and enable access to this book with login credentials. So the members of the community can access this book and read, but it will be not publicly available. As for the materials and publications produced by AESOP, I expect that they will be publicly available because it is good for dissemination purposes. So if you want to disseminate your work as widely as possible, it's good to make it publicly available. One of the features of repository is that you can control access at the level of an item of a publication. So if you need to limit access to a particular single publication, you will limit access to this publication. It will be in the restricted regime mode, but the other publications will be visible. It's more difficult to achieve this on the website. So that is why we will use different software platforms to achieve this. So there will be multiple ways of accessing content. The community should have quite a wide, the AESOP community should have quite wide access to all the materials related to AESOP. Public will have access only to the materials that you want to make public. So I can explain this in further detail if it's needed.
Thank you. I think it was quite clear. So now I have one more question from my regard. How will, as we said, there are AESOP and AESOP Young Academics, we organize a lot of activities during the year or other events as well. So how will AEKOM connect with these activities? Not just the past activities, but also the future activities that we plan to conduct.
Thank you, Ledio. Just before giving the floor to Alex and Paolo to answer the question, I just wanted to highlight to the participants that Yana just dropped into the chat some links that can be useful for everyone who's interested to look more into institution repositories or open access journals. So this is some kind of complementary, which gives much more detail than linking to the answer she gave regarding open access journal and directories. Thank you so much, Tiana. Alex, the floor is yours.
Yes, probably this difficult year we have seen an explosion of events, not the usual type that was the let's say customized practice, but unfortunately we have not seen, we have not been present in a live conference, which is the big miss we are living. So perhaps it's, since as Rosanna mentioned, I'm also the conference officer of AESOP, it's a good opportunity with this cooperation between AEKOM and the young academics to move things a bit faster. Now, let me say first something about the general direction that has been applied this year. It was more or less a bottom-up approach from the moment that we didn't have a live conference in 2020, and we are not going to have a live conference in 2021. Let's say the initiative was given to the thematic groups or to any other group, which is young academics and or AEKOM or this combination. So if we want now to more or less categorize the events and say something more particular, let's say that for the larger conferences, although nobody is sure how large the future conferences will be, for example, if we reach the 1,000 numbers, around 1,000 that was in Venice, which was a special case. But in any case, still a conference more than, let's say, 300, 500 participants is considered large. Perhaps 2 points can be mentioned at first sight, that AEKOM could co-organize with young academics, in both cases, either as groups or as individuals, a few special sessions, let's say between 3 and 5. And the second is one of our 3 pillars, which is the conference management system, which AESOP is one of the few organizations that still doesn't have such a system. That perhaps there could be a cooperation in the process of trying to find the best conference management system, which of course will be the same system that the young academics will use in the conferences. Now, another kind of information could be useful, and the coordination team knows that, and Pinar especially. AESOP is in process of having stronger links with Regional Studies Association and the ACSP, American Collegiate Schools of Planning, which also this come through events, for example, conferences or the Festival of Regions that is planned by RSA for this year. And of course, we have also proposals to cooperate with other associations. Now, of course, the most, let's say, usual form of event has been the webinars. And I'm sure that the young academics know better than me. I mean, you are very active into that. And perhaps there is a field of cooperation there. Already one webinar has been organized, and I know that 2 others are in the program. And even this discussion we are having now is a, let's say, a good practice of cooperation between AEKOM and the young academics. The other, of course, important activity is the thematic groups. And I'm sure that most of, at least a large number of AESOP members are members of the thematic group, and also this applies for the young academics. And a thing that perhaps is not very well known up to the moment is that there is a very elaborate plan of activities of thematic groups spread in time during this year. This calendar exists in the site, but it will be also announced in every newsletter concerning the month that comes. So many thematic groups appeared in the, let's say, in the call that was made by the General Secretary. So we will have very interesting events appearing. I think the next one, and the only one till the end of February, is by the group of ethics and so on. Very interesting. One webinar also was made by the thematic group that Camila is a member, was very interesting, with Richard Sennett and Ellen Kouklelis, two exceptional keynote speakers. So this is something we can build, and this type of activities and all the recordings and the data could be used also as part of our project. But of course, perhaps since we are also in a period of overload, not only of events, but of information, one needs to have, first of all, the necessary information, but then to spend some time to decide which event or webinar to follow, because sometimes there are 2 events happening at the same time. I often have a dilemma which event or webinar to follow. I mean, in full, because it's not polite to come for half an hour and leave and then come back and so on. But of course, at the end, everything, I believe, goes down to the personal level. So from the moment that young academics and AEKOM members are members of various thematic groups or committees or whatever, even in other associations, or not only AESOP, but of course we are mainly talking about AESOP, the role that each individual has to play is very important, I believe. And this could make the real change and the real step forward. So that's for me.
Thank you, Alex. Paulo, you want to add?
I'd just like to add a few words about connecting with the young academics and AESOP activities and events. I mean, knowing that this project started with all these 3 pillars, these 3 modules of institutional repository, which is the one that usually we give more visibility, because it will be the face, the interface of AESOP in the future. We also have the conference management system and journal management system, and those two I think are very important to underline here in terms of events and activities from AESOP and from young academics, because these two management systems will allow us to have like standardized tools in order to organize, either if we are talking about a journal like Planext, or editing a book that outcomes from a track from the AESOP conference, or also to give a standardized answer to the need of organizing very different kinds of meetings, from the general conference of AESOP to the PhD workshop, to smaller meetings from the thematic groups, as Alex already mentioned, and the size and the dimension of these events can change dramatically with the fact that we have this kind of tools on one hand. Just to give you an example, about 10 months ago, April last year, in the real big moment of the pandemic, the American Planners Association made their congress, and they set an online structure for infrastructure for the conference, and they thought, okay, let's do it with 5,000 attendees, and it was not enough. They could have had more. So they had, during the event, 5,000 attendees, the American Planners Association. This shows that, of course, we are used to much smaller scale, and we need infrastructures for much smaller scales, but it's also possible to reach more and more audience and more public with these infrastructures. So, and these, I underline these because it's very important on one hand to standardize the procedures, because they will help to feed with information, with metadata, etc., the institutional repository materials, because nowadays conferences are tomorrow's materials from the institutional repository, as well as the addition of journals and of books, but also to combine standardization with flexibility, having in account that we produce as a community a wide variety of events and a wide variety of editorial initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. I just wanted to highlight something just before we go through the fourth question and we give the floor to Lizzie. We've been hearing a lot metadata just in every answer. I just wanted to ask Milica, maybe if you can just take some few minutes just to explain that sometimes we hear words that sounds very hard to understand. Maybe if you can just explain for us, what is metadata? So we use metadata, maybe we're not sure what is it about. So if you can just elaborate on that before we proceed to make things clearer.
It's quite simple. When I talked to Rosanna and I was trying to explain to her what metadata were, we agreed that we should use the term basic information. So now when communicating with your community, I'm using the term basic information, and I see that everybody else in the group uses metadata. So metadata are actually pieces of data that describe some outputs, for example, publications. So the title, the author names, the publisher, the publication year, these are metadata. They are meta because they are describing something. So why we use the term, why do we insist on the term metadata? Because metadata must conform to some standards. And that's very important because librarians invented this thing, and this is not an invention of the 21st century. This is an invention of the 20th, well, not this is a medieval invention actually. Monastery book registers, inventories, etc. Metadata were invented in the analog time, but they need to be standardized. They increasingly need to be standardized because of the electronic context. And because we have to be able to transfer metadata from one system into another. That's why we are increasingly using the term metadata and increasingly insist on standards. So, but this is actually, in real life, this is the basic information that describes anything. For example, you can have a metadata about a flower pot, about a mirror, about anything. So this is it. And an interesting information, just yesterday, I found a job announcement published by an American library. The job position is metadata strategist. This person should be responsible for devising strategies how to translate metadata from one format, from one standard into another, which metadata to use, how to enable that metadata are translated from one standard. This is extremely complicated even for us librarians who are dealing daily with metadata. But what you need to know is that the metadata are very important, that you will not be, your responsibility regarding metadata will be to enter this information in the institutional repository. This will be facilitated by an internet, a web form. So you won't have to know anything special. The label, the field label says title, you put in the title. Authors, you put the author's name. So you don't need to know anything special to be able to produce high quality metadata. You will know how to do it for your publications. The important thing is that the infrastructure facilitates this for you. So you don't have to think about it, and you don't have to do any coding. So we will continue using the term basic information, as Rosanna and myself agreed.
Thank you so much, Milica. And of course, without, I don't want to say blowing the surprise, but I just wanted to do some link with the metadata and with uploading data with one of the activities that we are also organizing, that I believe either you or Tiana will discuss this at some point, that uploading this metadata and knowing how to upload this data online, and how this entire uploading task and how does it work in line with the platforms provided are the heart of the Zenodo training community session, which will be done next week. So I just wanted to highlight this for now. I will not say more about the Zenodo training session. I will leave it for you to discuss it when the time comes. But just to say that to know how to do it, how to upload this metadata, and how this metadata will be available online, open access, will be at the heart of the Zenodo training session that will be done next week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Milica. Sorry, Lizzie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rosanna. Thank you to all for this meeting and also for your clarification. The AEKOM project look very challenging, you know, and very innovative as well. So I have a couple of questions. Let's start with the first one, speaking about connecting the young academic network with the AEKOM project. Which role will the coordination team of the young academic network play? I mean, we will be mere users, or we will be in charge of managing some components of the platform? Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. I believe Paolo and Tiana will be answering these questions. Paolo, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I believe there are two levels of answers that I will address briefly. The first one is, I mean, per se, the 20 years old that the young academics have already behind them of history are already a very good reason to commit, not only as users, but as contributors and as builders of these and feeding this infrastructure with information that are produced on a yearly basis by the events and by the editorial projects that have been produced. On the other hand, in addressing it in a different way, I would say also that we believe that this AEKOM project and the way the AESOP generates has been generating and producing knowledge will be changed by the fact that we will start to have this infrastructure. For instance, improving and stimulating much more the existence of feedback loops in the information, from collecting this information and then disseminating it, and then reharvesting feedbacks from these information and this knowledge. But I will leave this later for Jan, because I think he will address this more in detail. And now I will leave the floor to Tiana.
Thank you, Paulo, and thank you, Lizzie. I don't know if young academics are old enough to know the famous sentence Humphrey Bogart slips at the end of Casablanca. He's saying, I think, Louis, that this will be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. So we are really looking into beginning the beautiful friendship with the coordination team of young academics. Why I say this, I think it's very important for you to use this infrastructure and to know the benefits of this infrastructure. So this is not something that we are doing for us. We are mostly doing this for the future of AESOP community. And I think that the coordination team in that has the crucial role in what we are doing right now. And this is a kind of a dissemination about the project. So the more people get involved, more people know, are informed, and are able to make decisions and make choices about how they will use the infrastructure and will they use it. We hope they will use the infrastructure. What is important about the coordination team, we really need to have some kind of focal point where we can ask editors of the lines of publications that we mentioned, which are booklet series, which is Planex, which are other publications that you have, which are produced after the conferences. We need those editors to be aware of these possibilities and to kind of explain that this will be a housekeeping activity that they will be involved in. So they will assign the metadata as a normal and general responsibility they will be involved in. Apart from that, you will be co-creators. So please, if you have additional thoughts on which kind of components should be on the institutional repository, we are really looking forward to having the institutional repository as a flexible platform, which will be able to be revised and of course adapted to the needs of the users. So we do really hope that this communication is going to be more common thing between AEKOM and between the coordination team. And when we are talking about, because this is something that is going to be disseminated to the larger network, I think it's important now, Rosanna mentioned it, but I will use this as a good concrete role of young academics as a network. We will have a Zenodo training session on Tuesday, where young academics from Belgrade will be doing a kind of a pilot phase of creating the institutional repository. And what they will be doing is exactly what Milica described previously. They will be labeling publications, mostly booklet series, previously produced booklet series, with certain labels, which will really and upload them to Zenodo community, which is a community, let's say, building activity, and it's also a kind of an infrastructure where AESOP can use Zenodo community to have their its publication in open access, from where this publication will be migrated to when the real institutional repository will be created. So we are really looking forward to this beautiful friendship and the start of a beautiful friendship, because we need you, and your work is going to be really crucial for creating all this.
Thank you so much, Tiana. I guess in this regard, we can maybe check if the coordination team, they are available next Tuesday, maybe just jumping on the call whenever it's a slot of 1 hour on Tuesday, the 23rd, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's a 1 hour with the young academics of the University of Belgrade. Just like Tiana mentioned, you are all, of course, very welcome to join the event if you were available. Nevertheless, we can definitely discuss in a further at a later stage, maybe to have another session with the coordination team and maybe with the wider young academics community on how to upload this basic information of metadata online and what is the Zenodo community about. And here also, if I want to add another point just before moving forward, that this Zenodo community is not only about uploading, it's not only a technical exercise of uploading data, it's more about, just like the name said, it is about creating a community and it's about building a community, but it provides a technical and a more technical platform to do that through uploading these documents, if I'm stating this well. So
it's not only about the Zenodo community, it's about the whole platform developed by AESOP. Young researcher, the idea is that young academics should adopt good practice that can be useful in their further career within the community, within the AESOP community. So the idea of developing this infrastructure is to empower young academics to, by adopting a good practice, to develop their careers further. They will learn how to disseminate their work in a sustainable way without losing too much time, without some wasted efforts, how to make this sustainable. That's the idea.
Yeah. Thank you, Milica. I guess this is the practice that you mentioned that just goes along with what Tiana was saying about this routine of having the booklet series editors, and especially the editors of the booklet series and Planix, which are the scholarly outputs of the young academics at the end of the day, to have a more routine on a more routinely basis to upload these on a more constant matter in order to indeed have a more sustainable practice. Thank you so much, Lizzie. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Tiana and Paolo. And I really like the idea, actually, that we are at the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And I have another question, talking about let's say, the organization of the platform. So the question is, could we organize a kind of brainstorming in order to collect ideas on how to organize the platform? I mean, which contents and so on, so that its construction become itself as participative as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. Camilla and Alex will be answering. Camilla, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Lizzie, for the question. Let me respond to this question with a preliminary comment that John and I will develop just after. AEKOM's main goal, I would like to stress this, is to nurture a community building process around knowledge by combining challenges, approaches, opportunities, interest, and most important, by sharing usable knowledge. In this project, we intend knowledge as an interactive, shared, and co-created results, so participatory in the very nature. Accordingly, we can say that AEKOM is a project based on a concept of participatory, open access, we already said that, process of knowledge creating and sharing. And this is how the project has been, for example, developed from the beginning through several methodologies and actions, a mix of them, focus groups, interviews, consultation, video reportings, etc. So a brainstorming aimed at thinking about how to organize and make use of the platform would be in line with the project and its implementation, while contributing, and this is very much important to me, to avoid the risk of matching the platform with the collecting staff system instead of a way to share and preserve usable knowledge. So the response is yes. And while organizing it, let's consider that on the one side, the pandemic has reduced face-to-face meetings. We said that. On the other, it has pushed towards innovation, even in the digital participatory modalities, not just in the conference and other similar kind events. So this could be the opportunity to experiment with one of these modality, inventing, for example, a new generation of post-COVID pandemic, I don't know, transition brainstorming in line with the digital dimension of AEKOM. and with its purpose of being able to keep the memory of all the knowledge and ideas exchanged in the institutional repository. That is a purpose that results to be, fortunately, an unexpected anticipatory AESOP resource in the digital time we are living in due to the pandemic, of course. We can start working on it after having collected the expectation of young academics, for example, and this brainstorming can also be considered as the second step of a series of participatory meetings, since we, as AEKOM, think of something similar for engaging the AESOP stakeholders, for example. Or we can even think of a combo of these two initiatives focused on this, collective work of bringing together this platform. If I'm allowed, I would like to show a 2 minutes video of the AEKOM kickoff meeting, which was organizing under this format, participatory meeting format, which was actually a World Cafe redesigned around the idea of a kickoff participatory meeting. So I'm going to share my screen before leaving the floor to Alex. Okay, and here is the video.
The potential of the collective is very important, but I think we need to differentiate between the outputs and outcomes of the individual AESOP congress and the AESOP family.
What AESOP currently does to create and share knowledge is to organize this conference.
A new image of the planning schools in the world. There should be a self-management system. People who are posting should be responsible of what they're posting.
To stay in the legal aspect, however, to see if it's possible to provide the password to other colleagues.
Participation of knowledge is of intellectual capital is supported with technology.
Our project is more or less about making this before implementing it, and making these things clear.
The project be built on you, on your expectations, on your ability.
You have to know a little bit about the cost.
Whether it gives you something, and you can click what would be the platform then?
Documenting the huge accumulated knowledge in abstracts of the past. How we have to transfer the content through these conferences. To honestly track the thematic chairs for new ideas for the future. This thing is immensely important and so welcome.
It is not a system which is self-running at all. It's constantly needed support. The more the system comes, the more complicated the system gets, the more support you need. And
expecting a perfect solution to an issue.
And nothing less.
And nothing less.
Great.
Well, that's all. Thank you very much. I think I don't have to add anything. That's just an example of a wonderful atmosphere of working together. And I think a brainstorming could work exactly that way, reflecting all together about how to organize stuff. And according to what Milica was suggesting, also Tiana was suggesting, finding the way to add options to respond to the needs that, of course, are changing all over the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Camila. It was really great to see the video. I hope it's not going to be an impossible mission, as Ben said at the end of the video, starting to show a bit that this project is getting materialized in a very possible way. Thanks a lot, Camila. Jan, would you like, the floor is yours.
Are you sure?
I think you meant me.
I will come back to this later on. I will come back to this later on.
The community building aspect.
No, just a few words from me, taking the pass from Camilla, especially in relation with brainstorming. I think this is a good case where we can use the buzzword co-creation, which is very popular. So I believe it's a typical case that this term really makes sense. Of course, the whole process must be well organized in terms of time management. And since apart from the let's say live meeting, which is not possible these days, but electronic meeting, which is based on the oral or the oral dimension of our communication, I still believe that the written communication can be useful. So we can have, let's say, a pool of ideas. We can create a pool of ideas and which can be combined with an email exchange or parallelly or before live brainstorming with the electronic way. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Lizzie.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Camilla and Alex, for sharing also the video. The video makes me a bit nostalgic, actually, you know, because it looks also that the best idea, more creative idea, come from when you are in front of some food. There were always this table with food on the top. But jokes apart, I have another question, the last one. For me, and as you know, as a coordination team, we have already some platform. We use Drive, Dropbox, Twitter. We have also a website. So one question from us is how to facilitate an easy connection between our already existing platform and virtual storage as well and media, so that our documents, archive, and already also produced knowledge can be easily managed. Thank you.
This one is for me, I guess.
Yes.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
I'll share my screen because I've made an image that explains some things and which actually indicates where the greatest effort is. Wait just a minute. This is not the right screen. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Right. So this is what you have. The Google Drive, Dropbox, and you have some content here. And the problem with this content is that actually these drives do not ensure long-term preservation. But another more practical problem is that actually you don't have the basic information that is metadata. So in order to make this content visible on the internet, you can upload these things on the website here. You can upload it here, but it will not be easily findable because it doesn't have the structured metadata. So the greatest effort is to make a selection of this content and to put it in a repository and produce the metadata. This is the greatest effort. Once you've done this, you don't have to repeat any of these actions in further dissemination. The repository enables dissemination. For example, if you have a Twitter account and you want to disseminate the content on Twitter, you just put a link to repository. If you have a ResearchGate profile and you want your publications to be seen there, be visible there, you just put the link to your publications in the repository. You don't have, and I wouldn't recommend it, to upload the publications again on social networking sites. If you have a publishing platform, for example, OJS for journals and a conference management system, you shouldn't need to upload manually these data and publications in the repository. There is a way to do it automatically. These platforms can communicate. So if you have a publishing platforms based on OJS and it will be produced during this project, there will be no duplication. The publications will be available in the repository and it would be possible to disseminate them. So if you have a paper in an open access journal, there is no need to upload it again on social networking site. So this is the most difficult moment, producing the metadata and putting this into the repository. And there are some ways to facilitate this, for example, but this can be negotiated with the people producing the repository. So as far as understood, some of them offered to make an assessment of what you already have, and to see whether some metadata can be imported from some other sources, etc. After this is done, everything else is very, very easy, very straightforward, and there should be no duplication of work. So my IT person, when somebody asked, well, how many times do I have to enter metadata on some platforms, he said, okay, if you enter it into the repository, this will be the last time. After that, everything is done automatically. But one example, many people upload their papers on ResearchGate, on social networking sites. These platforms are privately owned. They're owned by some companies who do not commit themselves to preserving this data. For example, if Elsevier threatens ResearchGate with court trial, with court proceedings because of copyright breach, ResearchGate will just delete your publications. They will not be saved. You may have uploaded them, you put some effort into this, but they will be deleted. If you put your publications in the repository, even if you made an unintentional copyright breach, the publications won't be deleted. They will just be, the access will be restricted, but they will remain in the repository, and you will retain the access to those publications. That's the idea. So it might be a little bit complicated to understand, but the purpose of this project, among other things, is to use young academics and older academics as well, how to save their time by relying on sustainable infrastructures. So this is the greatest effort.
Thank you so much, Milica. Thank you so much, Lizzie. In case any probing questions from the side of Lizzie or Ledio, we're gonna discuss this after our last question on community building with Pinar. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Rosanna. Firstly, it is really great to have the AEKOM team with us today. My question relates to community building, because openly sharing knowledge also strongly relates to community building. So my question is, how can the systems of AEKOM help rebuild our community, especially in a post-pandemic world? Even in the pre-pandemic, let's say, normal times, we always need to care for our communities. And now with the pandemic, it's even harder. So I wanted to hear a little bit about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pinar. I believe Jan will start answering the question and Camilla will add a few notes afterwards. Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you, Pinar, for this question. I'm going to try to answer your question by sharing my screen and using a presentation that we made some time ago, if I can find it. There it is. It's a presentation we made after the first year of our AEKOM project. And I think it summarizes quite well the concept behind the project. As you know, and as we heard already several times, community building is really one of the two important aims of AESOP. And in order to realize that, as we heard already, AEKOM is built on I call that also pillars. On the one hand, it's developed relying on free open source of software. It's developed as a tool for further knowledge sharing and management, and it's developed relying on co-creation, as said already. And there's a concept behind this, and I call this concept, I'd like to call that commoning, relating to commons, of course, but as a kind of process, as an enduring process of producing and managing knowledge. And I would like to convey that image of a tool. AEKOM is a tool, a platform is a tool, which is shaped co-creatively. And by doing this, by working in this way, it can shape a community. And I relate to the well-known quote of Churchill, we shape our buildings and afterwards our buildings shape us. In my point of view, we shape Common as AEKOM as a platform, and afterwards AEKOM shapes us. I think that that's an image of the building, the potential of AEKOM to build community, which might work well. I could explore this by saying, for instance, that if you can interact by using the platform, you will become more interactive. And I think interaction is a very important basis for community building. In order to go a bit deeper into this, I show three schemes we made, starting from what we call the state of the art, how is AESOP now? And these are schemes, of course. I mean, it's simplified. You cannot see details in these schemes, but it tries to convey the idea that there is only a limited contribution of AESOP at the moment to the outside world. There's via the website a lot of contribution from the so-called AESOP bodies, as you can see what we mean by that. But the community itself, the AESOP community, it doesn't have a lot of means to convey itself and expose itself to the outside world. So that's why we constructed, built AEKOM as a platform. And you see the change compared to the previous scheme in the sense that there's much more interaction. AEKOM has a central position, and the three modules for the journal management system, the conference management system, and the institutional repository are shown here. And there's already an indication that also other conference management systems from other parties could be produced. But there's more than contribution in this scheme. There's also feedback. That's something we would like to implement, to create, and not only within AESOP, but also between AESOP and the outside world. Because now, from now on, until now, I mean, there's a lot of exposure from AESOP, the official AESOP, but not so much use of all the knowledge which is produced and managed and stored within AESOP. So there is, and I can not read it on the slide, I have to read it on my documents. There's the idea of the platform. These three modules create a platform for sharing knowledge in an open way, as free of charge as possible, as we have seen already. And the infrastructure should allow to contribute, not only to use knowledge and to transform knowledge, but also contribute to the enrichment of knowledge, amongst other things, by feeding back. Feeding back from the community is a crucial issue. And this last scheme tries to represent the idea of a kind of interchange module. It's not a module which we have been conceptualizing from the beginning. It is something that we think is necessary. We do not know exactly how to create it, but while AESOP is at the moment creating a new website, and while this website is containing the modules of AEKOM, we will try to arrange this combination of modules on the one hand and the new AESOP website on the other hand, in such a way that there will be as much interaction as possible, as much interchange as possible. As you can see in that rectangle, that interchange can be among for many things. It can be scholarly communication, which can build a scientific community, but it can also be much more social communication, which is also important, of course, for building community, and feedback loops between what people, the community and the members of the community introduce to the AEKOM platform, and what they can reuse and change and feedback. We think that kind of interchange, intensive interchange, will play an important role. What we hope is that that the young academics will play an important role in the building up of this interchange management module, as we called it. For instance, the question for a simple geoinformation tool is an interesting requirement, I think, which we could take up. And also the Zenodo training, which will take place. We can see this as a kind of pilot, which will show, I think, quite important requirements which we can take up in this interchange module. I'll leave it there and leave the floor to Gabriela now.
Thank you very much, John. Should I go? Should I wait?
Yeah, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, let's, John, after these pictures by John, it's not easy to add something, but let's say just few comments might be useful even to take the second part of the question. I think that the innovative challenge of AEKOM is to intertwine two dimensions. A technical one that has to do with the feasibility of these interchange management systems, explained by Jan, and the social one that has to do with the process of knowledge building as a process of community building that produces usable knowledge. In this sense, I think we can say that AEKOM intends to constitute itself as an apparatus that bring both dimensions together and work in the direction defined by Jan, okay, which is very dense, which is very intertwined, which explains that the infrastructures needs the community to make this infrastructure work. If we trace this discourse back to the pandemic crisis and the transition that this implies, and we explore the role that the planning approach to the crisis has had, we realize that despite few exceptions, at least to what I know, planning as field for addressing measures for short and long-term action strategies has not been in the foreground in the government discourse and measures during the COVID outbreak and even in the European Union Next Generation Plan preparation. And this fact raises, I think, a question regarding the ability of our community of planners to constitute us as visible interlocutors for politics. In response to this, we think that AEKOM, as a knowledge collector and impact multiplier of planning knowledge, at least potentially, can make the difference, making AESOP as a planning community visible and prepared for future crises, whatever they are, pandemic, climate, environmental, etc., that could ask for planners' contribution. At least two things are to be kept in mind to rebuild our community in this transition we live in. The first is getting prepared to uncertainty in the most important, I think it's the most important one. Preparedness can be the way that we give ourselves to plan not the solution, but at least the construction of the ability to react even in the face of things we know we don't know. A concept well developed even within another young academics webinar by Alessandro Balducci, you might remember it. And the second point is enlarging and strengthening the planning community worldwide, starting from AESOP. Indeed, we think AEKOM can facilitate this long-term process to get prepared to crisis that might ask for ready-to-use knowledge outward, to be put at work, and a multifaceted platform to work with, through, and within in-world ESOP. Concerning the second question, make use of simple geoinformation tools, etc. AEKOM can boost a planning community made of two intertwined layers. The first one is digital and thematic, and relates a digital domain where ideas, research products, community research groups are formed, etc. The second one is geographical and situated, and traces the geography of planning according to density or dislocations of practices and planners or researchers, of course, in the real world, by turning on or making it possible for them to constitute research hubs located in the world. This second way needs further exploration and design, and I think needs to be designed together as a 5G implementation of the platform. So I think that this question raises the need for more research in this field, and the study about how to connect these functionalities to a platform such as AEKOM. And it's something that we can work on together, mixing generations, firstly, and technological expertise we might find among you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Camilla. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your answers. Now I believe we only have 10 minutes yet. It would be maybe good to give the floor to anyone who would like to have any probing questions from the coordination team or from anyone else. So please go ahead in case you had any probing question. Maybe let's start with the Young Academics coordination team. Would anyone wanted to have another question or clarification on what was provided so far?
Maybe there is Pinar. She wants to integrate her question, it seems, from the chat.
I believe they were already covered, but Pinar, in case you wanted to add something else, or if anyone wanted to add something.
Just to clarify, I mean, yes, Camilla has already answered that actually, but I was also asking in the initial form of my question, what use can we make of geoinformation with this? Because now, because of the pandemic, we are not able to have face-to-face meetings, but even at some point in the near future, we will be able to have our face-to-face meetings. Now that everyone is getting used to using digital tools, this is not always going to be so necessary. So I was imagining some geoinformation tool that is going to be at disposal of our community, so that we would know where the local events are, and so that maybe these local events can attract people there in the near vicinity. And this also applies for, I don't know, why not having the geoinformation of any data, or like any basic information. I don't want to say metadata now anymore. But yeah, I mean, this was already a very satisfactory answer. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Pinar. I just received maybe on the personal chat from Saifan asking, so how is the AEKOM team trying to bridge the two components between the technical and the community building? So who would like to?
Can I pick up on this one? Yes. Because Rosanna and myself had a conversation yesterday, and what I wanted to explain is that the technical part of this story is not a purpose in itself. It's not a purpose in itself. We are building an infrastructure in order to enable community building. This is the purpose of infrastructure. Infrastructures do not have purpose in themselves. They should facilitate something. So the only reason why we are so much highlighting the technical aspects is that we don't want to spend too much resources and weight in order to create something that is not sustainable. That is why we are insisting on metadata, on standards and other things, because over the past 20 years, with the digitization process, that's why I'm not a technical person. I got involved into technical things in order to make my job, my work possible, in order to do it sustainably, because I'm not interested in doing technical stuff. I'm doing them because people who are involved in technical things are unable to understand the whole picture. So that's why I'm involved in it more than I would like to. So over the past 20 years, when the process of digitization started, it wasn't much organized. It wasn't very much structured. So a lot of money was wasted. If you remember, 20 years ago, we were scanning images using the 20 DPI resolution, 200 DPI resolution. So most of these images had to be rescanned, to be digitized once again. It's a waste of money, it's a waste of time, because we were unable to foresee something. The standards were not defined. Now we have standards, we are more aware of the standards, and that's why it's important to stick to these standards. And this is where the story ends. Once the infrastructure is built, everything else is about community building. We will not try to embellish this infrastructure more than it's necessary. That's the point. There is nothing to bridge. This is not a horizontal bridge. This is a vertical line. You have a substructure. The substructure are your Google Drives and the data on your Google Drives. The infrastructure is the repository and the publishing systems, and everything else is superstructure. It's community building. So that's a vertical line. There is no need for a bridge. This is a linear development.
Yeah, thank you so much, Milica. I believe this question has really highlighted some of the things maybe that were already very important to highlight, is that these two components that might seem part of the project or maybe separate, sometimes we talk about several components. Very important to say that these components are intertwined and we cannot achieve one without achieve the second, and the success of the first one relies on the success of the other components. And these three platforms, these three components go hand in hand in order to provide this technological platform and eventually build the community. So not wanting to keep everyone, yeah, sure, Tiana, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to add something, because it seems like I'm always doing this technical part. In my opinion, the technical part is something that I experience as sine qua non. Like, we cannot move forward until we have the basic infrastructure, and then later on, when we have this, then we will be able to move forward. What I think is, in the technical terms today, I was explaining to young academics in Belgrade, what is their role in this, because they needed to know why they are doing this voluntary work, because it's a voluntary work. I really wanted to, they didn't have any direct experience in young academics networks. Our school is a member school of AESOP, but they have, I think, you know, Boena, there is only one young academic that was actively involved in young academic network. I really want to give them this experience of being viewed as a members of a larger community. So this is very important for me for them to understand why they are doing this, what will be the benefit for the larger community, and how we can perhaps, I hope, inspire others to do similar activities, because it's only 1 hour. And once we do that, then we can go inside the conversations that we didn't have before. Like, who did the description of the booklet about Feludi, or who did the description of a booklet about Ines, and how, why this is important. I just hope that this is going to be initiation of some processes we didn't have before. And technical part is there just to enhance, to enable, to give this first basic condition to be fulfilled for this kind of conversations.
Thank you so much, Tiana. just like to ask if anyone has a comment, a question or anything else before I jump into concluding this very exciting conversation. If anyone wanted to add anything. Anyone? Alex, yes.
Yes. Since the next two, let's say, larger than thematic groups events, in theory, at least, are the Young Academic Conference and the PhD workshop, and we have both people in charge of the organization here, it's a good opportunity to think how we can, let's say, take advantage of these meetings, electronic meetings, focusing on young academics to perhaps further, continue the dialogue or implement some ideas. I don't know if Ledio and Milan have any ideas to share with us.
Well, Milan, should I answer first, or would you like to speak?
Please start, because it took me a little bit by surprise, so I need to think a little bit more.
Right. Well, it was by surprise for me as well, so I think we are in the same boat. But the thing is that the conference is coming quite soon. It's in the end of March. So maybe one of the ideas we were also discussing with Rosanna before we started today's meeting, it could be a short sessions where we discuss with young academics at some point in the conference about AEKOM. And I think there AEKOM will also have evolved further, and we can discuss, let's say, more detailed issues about how the young academics can be involved in the AEKOM platform. Also, in terms of the institutional repository, we can discuss prior to the conference in terms of how we should preserve the documents different aspects of the conference. For example, the book of abstracts or proceedings, or the conference will be hybrid, and all keynotes most likely will be recorded. So also this is something that can go in the repository. So these are some of the issues we can discuss. I mean, if you want, we can also organize a separate meeting with the local organizing committee, because that goes beyond myself, and so that also the other colleagues are involved in the discussion. Yeah. So these are just some initial thoughts that came to mind by Alex's question. But
yeah. Thank you, Ledio. Just to keep everyone in the loop, I already chatted with Ledio just prior to this meeting regarding our, as an AEKOM, regarding our idea to have a short intervention in the General Assembly during Tirana's conference, and building on that, maybe this can be evolve into a discussion with the local organizing committee that we can discuss at a later stage. Since we already agreed that that this event will take place only for 1 hour and a half, I just don't want to hijack other people's time. I know that Camilla just wrote on the chat that she would like to ask a question, so I'll give the floor to Camilla, and after that, excuse me, I'll have to conclude. Camilla.
Well, thank you very much, Rosanna. It's a very short question that can be discussed among you later. Just, I mean, wondering whether we are talking about exploration of community building motivation, and we are definitely on this point. I would like to share with you if there is any concreteness in this idea of a brainstorming for community building, because we can even think of a combo event, the one focused on AESOP governance body stakeholders engagement. I called it like this, and the one with young academic as a community. But it's up to you. You have time to discuss it among you and check if the sentiment is this one, because it would be great to start working this way. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Camilla. I hope that this gave a bit of time to Milan, maybe if he would like to react, not being pushy, just giving you the floor in case you wanted to have any reactions.
Definitely. Thank you so much also for the question and Ledio's input. Up until today, I didn't really think to integrate anything from AEKOM to the workshop, but right now when I'm thinking about it, more or less it's very similar to what Ledio said. So we have these so-called thematic seminars or thematic workshops there as a small part of the workshop. And I'm sure that this can be used as a both brainstorming session and also as a way to promote the idea. And second point, the PhD workshop is also consisting of the keynotes and then the kind of brainstorming sessions, methodology sessions with the PhDs. And I can also imagine that, of course, after getting the consent from the participants, this can be also be used as a content creation for the young PhD students, maybe. So basically, these are my immediate thoughts to this right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Milan. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your interventions, for all your questions, for all your answers. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure talking to everyone. I just saw Pinar wanted to ask something. Sure, Pinar, please go ahead.
Okay, sorry, horrible timing. Sorry, just before conclusion, just to very quickly, I wanted to mention something about this brainstorming session and community issues. I kind of like the idea of having something separate with the young academics, because I was just thinking the AESOP's thematic groups not necessarily representing what the young academics are necessarily working on. So maybe it can help us to indicate, I don't know, for instance, there might be there is like a lot of Southeast Asian students who are in the European institutions working and studying here, but studying their home cities, for instance. And this is not necessarily reflected in the thematic groups of AESOP. So I was thinking maybe this can be something useful.
Thank you so much, Pinar. I believe the idea that was just introduced by Camila will be at the heart of our coordination at some point after the Zenodo community. This will be a point of discussion internally within AEKOM, and then we will reach out to the stakeholder involved and definitely to the young academics to think it through. So we'll have definitely the time and the platform and much more time to discuss this further. And speaking of which, switching to my conclusion, I just wanted to say regarding the young academics, being a young academic, I believe that it's not only about how will the young academics use the platform or what is their role. I believe the young academics, they are at the heart of the project. The project is being built around them. So they don't have an initial role in the project. They are a big part of the project, and they are the users, they are the beneficiaries. And now maybe being the project manager, taking the side of AEKOM, the project relies on everyone's hands, on the intervention of everyone, and mainly the young academics, because they will not be only creating the knowledge, but also uploading it, preserving it, and making sure to building the community around it, if the AEKOM team agrees on that. So hence, I believe that and we all believe that the success of this project relies on every single one of us, and to be involved, to be active, and to be also proactive. It was great to listen to all these wonderful ideas chiming in today, and this will definitely give us the enthusiasm to maybe plan for other sessions. And of course, everyone is so welcome to help in any way, in very small maybe or limited way, to make this project succeed, or at least to communicate it, just like we said at the beginning, to the Young Academics Network as a whole. Thank you so much. We hope that we're gonna see you in our next activities. We're gonna be very active, And hopefully we're going to see your faces in future events. And hopefully, if you were available next Tuesday, I'll use this opportunity before closing to say, next Tuesday, 5 p.m. CET, there will be the first Zenodo training session. So Pinar, if you wanted to check with the coordination team, if they would like to be present, you are the most welcome to do so. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just checking the chat. Okay, so if we can close, thank you so much, everyone, and wish you a very nice evening. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna close.